Dana, why don't you take 5 minutes to explain why this mess is draining project overhead? I looked up, still holding my coffee. Rick was already walking toward the screen, clicker in hand, smiling like a game show host. Everyone turned to look at me. Not a word, just chairs creaking and laptops closing. My name is Dana. I'm 42 years old. I live in Tempe, Arizona. I'd worked 12 years at Brandon Clyde Construction. Not one HR write-up, not one blown inspection. The system Rick was mocking? I built it. Quietly. Nights, weekends, after my mom passed, after my divorce. No overtime. No applause. This compliance dashboard has been in use for, what, 8 years? Rick grinned at the execs. Multiple updates, all undocumented. No UI. Zero interoperability. Dana, how is this not a liability? The projector showed screenshots of my tool. No context, just blown up red boxes and old Excel exports. I stood up. My hands were cold. It's tracked every credential and permit across 7 states. We've had 0 compliance fines since rollout. It's tied to daily log sheets, union certs, OSHA. Rick cut me off, waving his hand. Yeah, but the cost. Field managers say it's clunky. Ops says it's slow. I mean, look, why rebuild a plane while it's flying? He got some chuckles. I didn't smile. This isn't a plane, I said. It's the manual everyone forgot we needed. Rick clicked again. Up came a sleek interface mockup, bright blue, full of buzzwords. Starting next quarter, we're rolling out Echelon Ops. Leaner, smarter, cloud native, real integrations. Thanks to our new vendor partner. He turned to me. Your system's being sunsetted. We'll need your full cooperation during the transition. I nodded once, not because I agreed, because I knew better than to argue in that room. Effective today, he continued, Dana's moving to field compliance support. We've set up a station at the Northside lot. She'll help field teams adapt to the new tools. A pause. No clapping. I sat back down. No one looked at me. Quick note. Before we go on, tell us which country you're watching from. Rick wrapped up like he'd just closed a big sale. I watched the corner of the slide deck. One bullet point in bold. Legacy decommissioning? In progress. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just opened my laptop, closed the compliance dashboard, and walked out of the meeting without a word. Back at my desk, my inbox was already flooded with transition planning emails. One of them was from HR. My new desk assignment was listed as Trailer 3B. I packed up my charger, grabbed my thermos, and took the elevator down without saying goodbye. I unlocked Trailer 3B just after 6 the next morning. The prefab was barely wider than my wingspan. No AC yet. One folding chair. A second-hand desk shoved up against a dirty window that looked out on the back gate and a dead patch of weeds. The blinds didn't work. The overhead light buzzed. I sat down, set my thermos on the edge, and booted up the aging company laptop they'd left for me. No monitor, no mouse. My new title was Field Compliance Support. The job? Reviewing credential packets for subcontractors that didn't even work on active sites anymore. The inbox was a joke. Scanned PDFs of expired insurance, half-filled W-9s, outdated forklift licenses. I sent polite responses, fixed what I could, logged the rest, and didn't make a sound. Rick didn't show his face out here, neither did anyone else from corporate. About once a week, a field guy named Corey came by to drop off binders nobody wanted to digitize. He'd knock twice, toss them on my desk, and nod like we were prisoners on the same tier. You still breathing back here? He asked once. Barely, I said. That was the extent of it. I kept my head down, did the job like it mattered, and waited. The new system, Echelon Ops, went live on a Friday. By Monday, the ripple effects had already started. 3 permit submissions came back flagged for incomplete data in Nevada. Then an inspector in Albuquerque failed a surprise site visit. No live credential records for 2 of the HVAC crews. I didn't say a word. I opened a fresh spreadsheet, named it Transition Gaps. Line by line, I logged the issues, date, region, site code, the tool that failed, the form that went missing, the field manager who sent in a complaint that went nowhere. No opinions, just records. I knew exactly how long it would take for things to break. The system I'd built didn't just store documents. It cross-checked expirations, verified local certs, triggered warnings when a contractor hadn't submitted OSHA training. Echelon Ops didn't do any of that. It was pretty, fast if you had signal, but it had no depth. And no one asked me for input, not once. Quick note, before we keep going, share what city or country you're watching from. 2 weeks in, I got a message from procurement. Dana, did the Chavez Mill site have its elevator permits approved last month? Can't find them in Echelon. I responded with one sentence. That process was part of the legacy framework, decommission per ops directive. No reply. Did I feel smug? Number, I felt tired. They'd told me I was out of the way. I let them believe it. I kept showing up early, logged everything, filed every incomplete packet with a timestamp. 4 subcontractors emailed me, confused. Where's the old system? That portal link's dead. I gave them Rick's new help desk address. Didn't copy him. Didn't need to. Then came the Colorado site delay. 3 days waiting on electrical certs that were buried in an untagged archive. No one found them. That same week, I overheard 2 field leads arguing over lunch in the yard. Didn't we used to get alerts on this stuff? One of them said. The other shrugged. Not anymore. IT says we're agile now. I went back to my trailer, logged the conversation. By the end of the month, my spreadsheet had 82 entries. Nobody asked for it. Didn't matter. One morning, the project lead for the big retail rollout, a guy named Sean, knocked on the trailer door. You know anything about past vendor cert logs for the Tacoma project? He asked. I looked him dead in the eye. Depends which system you're using. He sighed, handed me a crumpled list, and left without another word. I didn't help him. I didn't sabotage him either. I just noted the exchange, logged the missing certificates, and waited. The morning after Sean came by, I got to the trailer before sunrise. I didn't turn on the light, just fired up my own laptop and opened an old folder labeled Archive Sandbox. Inside were years of scripts, version logs, and backups I wasn't paid to write. All of it built on nights and weekends, usually with a cold cup of gas station coffee and a space heater humming in the corner. One file was called legalnotes.txt. I opened it, scrolled halfway down. There it was. Line 72 of a contractor scope agreement from 8 years back. My original side deal when they asked me to help modernize permit processes without official budget. I'd insisted on a clause. Rick wasn't even with the company back then. All tools, processes, or automation frameworks developed by the contractor during non-compensated hours remain joint intellectual property unless explicitly waived in writing. No waiver, no time-stamped opt-out, just my initials next to the clause. Legalese so dense it could put you to sleep, but rock solid. And now they deleted the system. I renamed the folder, quietly, new label, Legacy Integrations, Do Not Delete. Then I copied it all onto a clean USB drive. No cloud sync, no emails. I searched my inbox for Lorraine's contact. Lorraine DeSantis, Vice President Legal Affairs, Brannon Clyde Construction. Not friendly, not warm, but sharp. She'd been at the company longer than me and didn't do idle chatter. I pinged her directly. Subject, quiet meeting body. One item, IP related. Not urgent, but important. Confidential. Just us. She replied 10 minutes later. 11:30. Conference room B? Bring documentation. Quick note, before we move forward, tell us where you're watching from today. I drove across the lot with the USB in my pocket. The office hallways felt different now. Quieter, like everyone was pretending things were fine while duct tape held the ceiling up. Lorraine was already sitting when I walked in. No smile, just nodded. I sat down, slid the drive across the table. Undocumented integrations, I said. She plugged it in without a word. Started skimming. Her eyes didn't flinch. Clicked through folder after folder. Logs, backups, an old system diagram, and finally the agreement clause. After 3 minutes, she stopped, leaned back. This was never sunsetted in writing. Nope. And you logged hours? Only salaried work. These files were off clock. Personal equipment. Home dev environment. She nodded once, pulled the drive, capped it, and put it in her folder. What's the damage? She asked. They built their entire vendor onboarding around workflows I hard-coded. No backup. No compliance logs. The framework they deleted touched 6 different cert chains. Nobody realized it. And this clause gives you partial ownership of the process itself? Only the core triggers and automation. The back-end logic she exhaled through her nose. They're exposed. I didn't say anything. She picked up her folder, didn't offer reassurances. Don't talk to anyone about this, she said, already halfway out the door. I won't. Lorraine paused in the hallway, looked back once. Good work not losing your temper. I'm not angry, I said. Just accurate. Then I went back to my trailer and got ready for the rest of the day. I was back in the trailer by lunch. Lorraine didn't message me, didn't call, but I knew what she was doing. She wasn't the kind of exec to panic. She'd been through enough lawsuits, contractor disputes, and fire drill audits to spot a problem before the flames. She was reading, cross-checking, digging through contracts no one had touched in years. By 2, I saw her name pop up on an internal share log, one of the archived vendor folders from my old framework. She didn't open it, just flagged it. Legacy access restricted. An hour later, 2 more folders, both linked to vendor onboarding workflows I had built, were relabeled pending legal review. She knew. The clause was enough to trigger a full IP audit. It meant Rick hadn't just killed a tool. He'd broken a licensing condition, one that touched vendor compliance, safety workflows, and permit submission chains. And now the system was gone. The new client, a giant retail chain with a legal team that could tear through steel, was supposed to go live in under 2 weeks. I knew how those contracts were structured. Every one of their projects had to pass a compliance readiness check before day 1. Full verification of every subcontractor, certification logs tied to real-time triggers, and embedded audit trails. Without the backend I built, none of that existed anymore. At 4:30, my inbox pinged from Lorraine DeSantis, subject, no subject body, confirmed, not a word to anyone, no greeting, no sign-off. She was going to let it burn. Quick note, before we keep going, tell us where you're tuning in from. By the next morning, Lorraine had locked 3 more folders. She didn't explain anything to IT, just marked them executive hold. Then she ran a trace on the vendor license terms from the new Echelon Ops contract. I caught the log trail, a silent audit of every tool that replaced mine. They weren't compliant. I could see it in the metadata. No traceability, no verified credential paths, no embedded cert chains. Just front-end polish and empty automation. And the kicker? Half the field teams had already assumed those tasks were still happening in the background. Lorraine sent one more message. From Lorraine DeSantis to self-subject, legacy workflows, IP, initial impact. Body. If tool was deleted, any vendor approved after July 9th is non-compliant by chain of custody. Includes full safe site framework. Flag priority, high. She saved it to her legal folder, encrypted it, and logged off. Didn't send it to Rick. Didn't notify operations. She was waiting. By Friday, internal systems were already glitching. Permit trackers froze. 2 support tickets came in from Ohio sites. Couldn't verify their pipe-fitting crew licenses. I knew what would happen next. Rick would stall, then bluff, then blame the field managers. Lorraine wouldn't say a word until the chain snapped in public. That afternoon, I saw Rick walking through the lot in his usual blazer and aviators, laughing into his phone. Still clueless. He didn't see me watching from the trailer window. Behind him, Lorraine stepped out of the legal wing with a folder under her arm and her phone at her ear. She looked right through him. Didn't stop, didn't nod. She was lining it all up. Every missed cert, every lost log, every compliance trigger buried under Rick's streamlined tools. All she needed was for the client to step forward and ask the right question. The next week started with a missed inspection in Scottsdale. The field manager blamed rain. The rain had lasted 2 hours. I logged it. Site code, delay reason, weather log. By Tuesday, a Denver crew flagged expired harness certifications. No alerts had triggered. One guy climbed steel with an outdated fall rating. Logged it. That morning, I microwaved weak coffee in a chipped mug someone left in the trailer. The handle got too hot, burned my finger. I didn't flinch. Just sipped it slow and kept documenting. Echelon Ops was still online. Shiny, half-functional, and flooding support with tickets it couldn't triage. The dashboard errors weren't crashing yet, but they were getting loud. Red text, missing values, user not verified, cert not found. I stayed quiet. The Arizona East site slipped schedule by 3 days. Then Utah South lost a subcontractor over a failed permit recheck. HQ blamed the contractor. The contractor blamed the inspector. The inspector said, "Your system didn't flag the change." They all moved on. I didn't. I added it to the log. Quick note, before we go on, where are you watching from today? Drop it in the comments. The retail client's go-live date inched closer. Everyone kept smiling through status meetings, pretending the wheels weren't loose. Then came Thursday. I got the message at 9:42 a.m. Subject line, urgent. Concrete pour inspection fail. ABQ Industrial. I opened it. The inspector had halted the job. Missing cert logs for a subcontractor running the mix. No license, no training verification, no way to backdate it. The entire foundation schedule paused. That was the first real hit. I didn't say a word. 10 minutes later, IT pinged my old commit logs. My name showed up in a legacy automation script that used to pull cert verifications before large pours. It had been commented out in the echelon transition. Another ping, this time from a junior dev named Marco. Hey Dana, random question. Did you build that old permit validator for vendor tags? I stared at the screen. Didn't type, just watched the typing bubble blink, then disappear. 15 minutes later, another came in from a regional safety coordinator. We're trying to figure out why cert reminders aren't sending anymore. Your name's on a batch script we found in the backup archive. I responded with a single line. That script was part of the retired system. No follow-up, just silence. By late afternoon, I counted 17 inbound pings from 6 different departments. Everyone was tracing broken processes back to me, not for blame, for help. They didn't know who owned what anymore. Echelon Ops didn't have a human face, it had sales slides. I sat back in the trailer and watched the panic trickle uphill. One guy even walked across the lot and knocked on the door. Hey, you're Dana, right? I looked up. He wore a polo with the onboarding client's logo on the chest. Yep. You used to run the vendor verification stuff? Not anymore. He scratched the back of his neck. Okay. Just wondering if you had like a checklist or whatever the last system used. Some of the permit links are dead. I nodded slowly. That checklist was automated. No checklist now. He stared at me like I was speaking a different language. Then he left. I logged the exchange. Didn't send it anywhere. That night, I got a direct Slack from a mid-level PM named Jordan. I barely remembered him. Hi, Dana. We're under review for Colorado West. Do you know if the cert logs for Heavy Lift Incorporated ever got migrated? I typed, unknown. Migration was handled by OpsDot. He replied, okay. It's just your name's still listed as primary in the integration notes. I didn't answer. The slow burn had started. No flames yet. Just smoke rising behind every polished presentation. I sipped the last of my coffee, cold now, and stared out the trailer window as trucks rolled past, rushing towards sites that weren't ready. Monday started quiet. Too quiet for a rollout day. The big onboarding window for the retail client was supposed to open at 8 a.m. sharp. 3 major sites, Mesa, Aurora, and Riverside, all going live with active crews, open permits, and full vendor stacks. By 8:17, the first panic email hit my inbox. Subject line, urgent. Vendor access error, Mesa. The body was one sentence. We can't verify vendor credentials through the new portal. It's returning null values for permit clearance. 10 minutes later, Aurora reported the same issue. Then Riverside. The credential APIs had failed. No automated pull from any license database. No fallback logs. No access to historical certs. They couldn't validate a single subcontractor. 8 crews were told to stand by. Concrete delivery at Mesa, rerouted. HVAC inspections halted in Aurora. Fencing installation at Riverside blocked due to incomplete permit uploads. All 3 sites stalled by 10 o'clock. By 11:15, legal had confirmed the contract clause. Failure to mobilize compliant labor triggered daily liquidated damages. 3 states, 9 job phases, 5 figures in fines per day. I didn't say a word. Lorraine's name showed up in the internal audit channel around noon. She posted a single message. Initiating vendor compliance review. Pulling historical system access logs. Any changes to tool ownership must be documented. Then she started pulling receipts. One by one, she requested archived folders, email deletion logs, and source control entries. And that's when it landed, a thread in IT's internal Slack. Subject, Dana's old repo. Status? A junior admin responded. Flagged obsolete by ops. Deleted during Q2 cleanup. No backup found on live system. Archive not requested. Someone else chimed in. Who signed off on that? No answer. I leaned back in my chair. The trailer AC kicked on for the first time in weeks. Quick break. Before we continue, drop your city in the comments. We want to know where you're watching from. By 2 p.m., senior management was in damage control. I saw Rick's name flood the team threads, trying to shift focus to vendor documentation delays and platform transition hiccups. He posted charts, timelines, a few buzzwords about cross-functional learning. None of it mattered. The failure had a root. and Lorraine was already digging straight to it. By late afternoon, she'd issued a private request for legal to prepare audit committee packets. Full timeline of the decommissioned system. Tool ownership documentation. Compliance impact statements. No loud announcements. No meetings. Just a slow stack of quiet paperwork with teeth. Around 3:30, I got a Slack ping from Lorraine. Not a word, just logging. I replied, understood. That night, I stayed late, not working, just watching it unfold. Support tickets quadrupled. Vendor reps called regional PMs demanding answers. Field teams sat idle, burning hours with nothing approved. By 5, site leads had been instructed to hold position until further notice. I stepped outside the trailer. The lot was still. In the distance, I could hear the beep of a reversing truck that wasn't going anywhere. Tuesday morning, I got an Outlook invite from Lorraine. Subject: Special Board Session Location, Conference Room. A attendees, Board CEO, Legal Role, Dana R. Observer: Infrastructure Compliance. No explanation, no notes. Just a 9 a.m. slot booked for Thursday. I accepted. The office buzz was louder that day. Project managers walking fast with folders they hadn't looked at in years. Slack threads pinging every 30 seconds. Field crews stuck in limbo. Permits weren't clearing. Cert chains still broken, and nobody had a fix. I stayed in my trailer for a few hours, then moved to the main building when they asked me to support visibility. They stuck me in a broom closet they'd repurposed as a workstation. No door. 2 feet from the janitor's rack. I smiled, sat down, opened Excel and typed random notes into a blank spreadsheet titled Integration Metrics, Working Draft. Across the hallway, Rick strolled past twice, laughing into his headset, still wearing his damn aviators inside. "You've got this, people!" he shouted once. "Let's stay agile, find the weak links, and pivot." I nodded when he looked my way. Didn't blink, didn't say a word. He gave me a thumbs up like we were teammates. Quick note, where are you tuning in from? Tell us in the comments. At 1:07 p.m., Lorraine forwarded an email chain. Subject: Client Compliance Inquiry. Urgent. It came from the Retail Clients Procurement Office. One line stood out like a lightning bolt. Please confirm who retains ownership and operational responsibility for the back-end compliance verification system referenced in Clause 11C. Clause 11C. That was the one. The quiet little legal hook I'd buried in that first contractor agreement years ago. Lorraine didn't respond to the client. She forwarded it to legal, the CEO, and the board. Then she printed the clause, 1 page, double-spaced, highlighted in yellow. That afternoon, I saw her walking past the executive suite with a red folder tucked under her arm. No expression. Just moving with that quiet, surgical purpose that said, it's time. She didn't message me again. Didn't need to. My boardroom invite stayed on the calendar. Rick kept pacing the floor, tossing around words like resilience and realignment. People were starting to give him nervous looks. One junior PM asked him point blank, "Do we have coverage for the CERT audit window this Friday?" Rick just said, "We've got it handled." He didn't look at me. I went back to my fake spreadsheet, entered 17% process uplift in cell B3, then added a comment that said, pending feedback. Nobody questioned it. The next morning, a help desk ticket pinged my name again. Another one traced back to a deleted workflow I wrote. I closed it, logged it, sipped bad coffee from a paper cup. By the time Thursday rolled around, the building was tight with tension. Everyone pretending nothing was wrong, like the fire alarm wasn't already ringing behind their eyes. I checked my inbox. The boardroom meeting was still confirmed. 9 o'clock. Conference room A. Attire, business formal. I wore the same gray blazer I used for inspections. No makeup, no jewelry. Just my badge, clipped sideways. Nobody said good luck. Didn't need it. I stepped into conference room A at 8:58. The room smelled like fresh carpet and too much cologne. 12 leather chairs around a glossy table. CEO at the head. 3 board members to the left. Legal to the right. Lorraine sat with her folder closed in front of her. I took the far corner. Didn't shake hands. Didn't make eye contact. Flipped my name tag backward and clipped it low. Rick walked in like he owned the building. "Morning, everyone," he said, smiling. "Thanks for making time. I'll keep this lean." He plugged in a sleek laptop, launched a deck titled Q3 Compliance Transition, Operational Readiness. First slide, a glossy timeline with buzzwords. "Let's start with the good news," Rick said. "Our agile crews are adapting faster than projected. Echelon Ops is live in all 3 launch states. Daily metrics are stabilizing. Pause, Lorraine said, without looking up. Rick stopped mid-sentence. She opened her folder, pulled out one sheet of paper, set it down in front of the board. This is Clause 11C, she said. It was signed under contract BCC-3109 during initial vendor framework development, dated 8 years ago. Executed by this company's legal department. Rick blinked. I don't recognize that number. Of course not, Lorraine said. It predates your arrival. Dana negotiated it while building the original compliance automation platform. The board chair leaned in. Is this related to the current onboarding issue? Lorraine nodded. It's the center of it. Rick laughed once, tight and nervous. With all due respect, we've transitioned from that legacy tool. This is old documentation. The systems are no longer in use. Lorraine didn't respond. She just slid copies of the clause across the table, one for each board member, one for the CEO. They read in silence. The CEO looked up first. You're saying we didn't have full rights to decommission the original framework? Correct, Lorraine said. The tool was built during non-compensated hours, using Dana's private environment. Clause 11C grants her joint IP rights unless waived. No waiver exists. Board member number 2 spoke next. So, she still holds partial ownership? She does, Lorraine said. And that ownership includes the back-end verification logic that was stripped during the migration. Rick opened his mouth, tried to speak, then shuffled through his own notes like the answer might be hiding in a slide. She didn't notify anyone, he said. We had no reason to believe she retained rights. That's false, Lorraine said. She didn't have to notify you. You had to verify legal scope before deleting core infrastructure. You didn't. Rick pointed at the screen. We replaced it. We launched a better platform. That's what matters. Board member number 1 leaned forward. Better doesn't mean compliant. Lorraine folded her hands. As of today, we've breached contract terms with our largest client. Compliance chain broken. Vendor verification invalid. Audit trails non-existent. And we did it while deleting IP we didn't fully own. Silence. The CEO looked at Rick. Was there a legal review during the system migration? Rick's jaw clenched. It was routine IT cleanup. We were told. You were not told to skip legal, Lorraine said flatly. Rick looked at me for the first time. Dana, you never said anything about this clause. I didn't move. Just spoke once. You deleted it because you thought it didn't matter. No one said anything. No one even breathed. The air in the room collapsed into a vacuum. Rick's hands fidgeted at his sides. We can fix this. No, Lorraine said. You can't. It's in writing. It's enforceable. And our client's already asking questions. The board chair pushed the clause copy toward the center of the table like it was radioactive. This isn't a fix-it with a meeting situation, he muttered. Nobody looked at Rick. I sat still, didn't smile, didn't gloat, just watched as the thing finally cracked open. By Monday morning, Rick was gone. No announcement, no box-carrying walk of shame, just a ghosted calendar and a dark office with the blinds drawn. His name vanished from Teams, admin rights revoked. The only sign he'd ever been there was the framed quote still hanging outside his door. Speed wins. Nobody touched it. At noon, the CEO sent out an all-staff email. As part of ongoing realignments, we are undergoing a strategic leadership transition. We thank Richard Carmichael for his contributions and wish him success in his next chapter. No reply thread. No, thank you, Rick. Just silence. I didn't flinch. Just kept sipping weak break room coffee and watching the rest of the building pretend it hadn't just dodged a nuclear hit. Lorraine found me later that afternoon, right outside the elevator bay. Got a second? I followed her into a side office. She closed the door and handed me a folded piece of yellow legal paper. On it, written in her tight, all-caps handwriting, CTO, INFRASTRU, CTUREREBUIL, DTRACKETOEQUITYFULLDISCRETIONARYROADMAP. I looked up. She didn't smile. We need someone who knows where the real problems are buried, she said. You don't need me, I said. You're already doing the job. I folded the note and tucked it into my coat pocket. Thanks, I said, but I'm already incorporated. She raised an eyebrow. Name? Third Rail Systems, LLC, filed last Thursday. Clever. I thought so. Quick pause. While you're listening, what would you have done in Dana's place? Drop your take in the comments. I walked out of the building before 5. No box, no goodbye tour. My documents were already signed, notarized, and stamped. The same day Rick was walking out the back door, I'd filed the last piece of paperwork with the Arizona Corporation Commission. One tab still open on my laptop, a scanned PDF with a digital signature from the retail client. Contractor of record, Third Rail Systems, LLC scope, compliance infrastructure deployment, effective immediately. They didn't want to wait for Bran and Clyde to figure it out. They wanted something that worked. My phone buzzed around 7 that evening, a message from Lorraine. Still think you'll change your mind? I didn't respond. I stared at the contract one more time, then logged out. I left on a Thursday. No send-off, no speech, no cake in the break room. Just tossed my badge in the tray at security and walked out the south exit with my laptop bag over one shoulder. The place smelled like drywall and desperation. Too many meetings, too few answers. Nobody noticed me leave. I passed 3 contractors in the lobby, arguing over expired vendor tags. One of them held a clipboard full of red-marked permits. They looked panicked. Nobody stopped them. Out in the lot, the same maintenance truck was still parked crooked across 2 spaces. The same pile of busted drywall sat outside the dumpster. Nothing had changed, except everything. Halfway to my car, my phone buzzed. Amanda. You could have let it go. I didn't even pause. This wasn't revenge, just cleanup. Hit send. Quick one for you. Would you have walked away or stayed and taken the CTO seat? Drop your answer below. I pulled out of the lot slow. Didn't look in the mirror. No final glance, no trophy. Let them scramble. Somewhere in that building, a team of nervous execs was trying to rewrite documents I built by hand. They were probably on their 3rd version of a compliance checklist that used to trigger automatically. They'd survive, but they'd limp. 20 minutes later, I was in my own office, a single-room lease in a quiet strip mall, across from a tire shop and a smoothie place that closed by 4. Third Rail Systems LLC was printed in plain black vinyl across the door. Inside, everything smelled new. My inbox was clean, my desk was quiet. First onboarding call at 3, procurement lead, legal representative site manager from the retail client. No fluff, no jargon, just real work. No emails ignored, no systems undocumented. I poured coffee, clicked join meeting, and smiled once. The screen went dark.